What's up, everybody? How are we doing? Oh, it's you've had a day. It's been a day. It's definitely something. It is everybody's got a case of the Mondays today, I feel like. Oh my lord. M is dealing with ticks and tornadoes, y'all. Ticks and tornadoes. Oh my lord. I hope you are doing okay. The beautiful list. Da, 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 da. I think his dick is going to go off. Hey, as he should, as he should, as he should. Oh look at the wisps. They're wisping. They're wisping today. The whisper. This. What is this? This is we're in between stages at the current moment. She scheduled showings at 8 a.m. and 6. Oh, hell no. Oh, hell no. It could be a ticknado. Oh, my lord. That's worse than... I don't know what would be worse. Sharknado or a ticknado? Whoa, man. Ooh, M, did you see a helicopter drop the tick box on your property? Is that where they're coming from? Is that what happened? Y'all hear about that? Oh, bangers. I think Allie's having the best day thus far. Good Lord. That's funny. Did not expect to see that in my chat. Everybody, ladies and gentlemen, Allie, on that, just for that, I'll tell you what, here, let's get it started first. Let's get it. She said it must have been terrible falling down the stairs. What's up, Pete? Dude, when I grew up, I want to be just like that. That's funny. That's funny. Round of applause for Allie. Allie. Thank you for joining the hardcore. I appreciate that. Okay, Allie, we're going to celebrate Allie and her awesome day. So, Allie, pick a button. Pick any button you want. Just call it out. Just call it out and we'll let you have whatever it is. Just that way it's a little cherry on top of that lawn chair. She said she wants another room. Okay. Crown Prince of the Balbarn. Oh, they gotta turn the bubbles. That's good. And same guy. Okay. He's sticking around so far. Respect it. Respect it. Respect it. Ah, yes. All right. He sounds like a keeper. He does so far. He seems like he might be. He sounds like a pretty decent one, at least. I won't say a keeper, because you never know, but I tell you what, he's made it thus far, so we shall give him a hand as well. And that bird your whole normal was screaming. Oh, I'm sorry, Belle. That's got to be squawking loud. I can't wait until he gets to me. Oh, that's right. I forgot he is reading too. He is reading Throwing Glass, isn't he? Where's he at again? Where's he at? He's on Empire Storm. Is he doing the tandem or is he doing the solo? Just one at a time. Excuse me. He likes it a lot so far. Just the regular one? Okay, cool. Timmy, where are you? Timmy! Timmy was hiding behind Rune, y'all. Sorry, he was back here hiding behind Rune. I don't know. Bestie is starting Kingdom of Ashton. Oh, okay. How fast are they? Carissa, Dr. Lego. How fast are they a reader? Like, do they like sit down and read like a good chunk, or like what is your estimate? What is your ETA on the joining the cities of the Crescent? Sorry, I don't know why. She will knock it out in a week. Wow, that's a pretty big book to knock it. I mean, bet. Okay. Hell yeah. I'm excited for you. I'm excited. Super. Trina, I just made it to the halfway point of Crescent. Oh, the first book or the whole series there, Trina? And how are you enjoying it so far? Allie says she read Kingdom in 3 days. I could see it. The first book. Okay, nice. How are you liking it so far? We'll do our best to make sure we don't spoil anything in there for you. So we'll keep it down. Couldn't put it down, God knows. I bet you. Love it. Awesome. Great. That is good to hear. That series is so under, what's the word? It gets a lot of hate for no reason. I don't understand why. I don't know, but it's a good series. So, glad you're enjoying it. Just more people will enjoy it and get the word out there. And let everybody know how good Rundanen, Crown Prince of the Balbarn Fae, really freaking is. Underhyped and overhated. Exactly. And another series that's underhyped, y'all. I'm telling you, we just finished it. Was the Ashen series. That one, if y'all are sleeping on the Ashen series, y'all need to catch up. It's popper. All right, let's see. Ali says, had it started to rain, storm by you yet? We got some rain. Boom, boom. I enjoyed Ashen. I really enjoyed it. I really thoroughly did. I really, really did. I really did. I think these next two, but I think these first 3.5, if you want to call it that, is just the beginning. I think books 4 and 5 are really now that we're at where we're at. I don't want to spoil anything. Now where we're at, it's gonna get really good. I think, you know what I mean. Emily says, I need to know if Vega wants me to borrow the book from Libby. I'm not sure Vega's here right now, unfortunately. Hopefully, maybe she'll join us later. We have a flash flood and a tornado watch right now. Ooh, watch out. Be careful, Ollie. Be careful. Let us know. Keep us updated the best you can. Carissa says it's dark and gloomy there. Be careful there, too. How is the as far as I know, she's liking it. I know she stopped because she goes into these spurts where she gets really into her drawings. So when she does that, we just let her go, and she has been knocking out so many drawings lately. It's just unheard of. So we just let her go. She'll pick it up. Especially I think when school starts to get out and she's not sitting around, she has more time. Because she needs a break. She'll need a break from the drawing. So. Oh, Slipknot. Would love for my dad to. Y'all are funny. You forgot your wolf shirt? Hey. At least you didn't come in on your goon shirt. Ah, ha, ha. Yeah. Listen, shame is only what you let it be. Alright. DW, my dad would have a mighty cardinal infraction if he reads our books and jumps you. Emily, I feel like you've been reading Alchemized again with the big words. Why didn't you just say like a heart attack? Why didn't you just say a heart attack? Why you gotta be talking all alchemized and shit with big old words? My stepdad couldn't handle it. He's 85. Oh, my Lord. He said his heart couldn't handle it. No, that's not good. Ah. And now your mom loves him. That's kind of epic. Because Jake did something his name. I don't know if the American Medical. Oh, okay. Okay, well, is that a good thing? I think that's a good thing, right? Is that a good thing? You, once again, why are you speaking in big? We speak small words. I appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate it. We listen. We get enough big words in this story right now. Okay, we are getting enough big words and repeated words. We using little words while we talking around with us. Okay, let's just keep it real. Incoming story. He had a patient that arrived was seeing a pulseless electrical activity. I feel like I'm reading the story again. Okay. So he had somebody come in that had a PLA, ASAP, and ultrasound heart activity was disorganized. Okay. All right. I feel like I want to acronym the story that you're telling me because it's just so many cool words. Ultrasound heart. Okay, yeah. Wait, see, she got to type so many big words. Okay, you don't shock P, but he shocked. Turned out it was actually C-said because she cardioverted. Ah. So I went inverted one time. I was jumping on a trampoline, right? Or on a diving board too. Like I can do it on a trampoline or a diving board. And I can go inverted. That's when I go upside down. That's inverted, right? That means inverted. So I can go like I can go whee! I can do that. I can do that on a trampoline or a diving board. Yeah. Jeez. Wow. So I think he came in for an irregular heartbeat. He wasn't supposed to do nothing, accidentally shocked it, and then it took him from that and put him back into regular heartbeat. And they got return of spontaneous they got a return. So spontaneous, so at the same time circulation joined. So she lived. Well, fuck yeah. That's the hell yeah. Close enough. I was close. I like. Hey, congratulations to him. That's good shit. Stuff. Good stuff. Good stuffs. Good stuffs. Hills of California. All right. So, how pulses electrical activity is a type of cardiac arrest, and you're supposed to treat with CPR. Oh. Okay. The shit I've learned reading money books. Not defibrillation. Ah. Okay. Gotcha. Still makes absolutely no sense, but it makes more sense. But makes no sense all at once. You know what I mean? It makes no sense, but all the sense at once. That's just all I'm serious. Seriously, and I mean that in a good way too. Like I know what you're saying, but I don't know what you're saying. What's up, Bobby? How you doing? Bobby, you working tonight or are you off tonight, love? You've been, ever since like every time we've been live, you've been working. You've been working your duty off. She lived, that's all that matters. Ah, Emily, I love that breakdown. That makes good. Yes. Good, good. Yay! And lobby's off tonight. Yay! See, there is some good on the Monday. See, some people are having some good Mondays. There we go. Why am I yelling at us? I'm not yelling. Because Emily, why are you yelling at us, Emily? I think she's just making sure we hear her. What's up, pretty lady? What happened? You just thinking about it? Huh? I know. It's been like that all day, babe. I know. It's been like that all day. That's why I took him for a ride today. It's rough. I know. I know, babe. We gotta change this song. We can't do that. Sorry. So I tell you what, folks. We're gonna get going tonight. As y'all know, I like to be honest with everybody. So, if y'all don't know, our goodest boy is getting very, very, very old. I think I've told you that before. I don't know, but we think it's gonna be soon. He's just, he can make it up and better finish his food. So if I end up just having to say, hey, it's time, just know, or if I go quiet for a day or two, y'all, I'll shoot a message in the courtroom. Just please know. So just please know that that's happening. It's getting up. Like he's just old. So if you notice me find back emotions or stuff while we read tonight or anything, just know that it is on our mind, because he was the goodest boy. You know, he is our goodest boy. But anyway, so yeah, if in the next day or two we cancel or something, I'm just like, hey guys, not today. Y'all know why, and we'll let you know. But so just know that. But anyway, we're gonna have some fun tonight, because we gotta have fun, because that's what he would want. He would want us to have some fun. So we're gonna have some good fun, and we're gonna read the story. You know what I mean? So, all right, let's get the music down. I appreciate y'all. Appreciate y'all. Appreciate y'all. Appreciate y'all. So, I'm a bird fell. Bum 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 bum. All right. So, now, I did get 4 and I read 2 today. I got 4 and 5 done today. So yeah, I read 4 and 5 today, I believe. Did I read 4 and 5? Yeah, hang on. Let me make sure. I believe I read 4 and 5. I think it was, yeah, 4 and 5. Yeah, I did 4 and 5. So we're on 6. Yeah, we're on 6. I did 4 and 5 today. 4 and 5. Okay, again, I hope, please let me know if like when I sit here going, because like there's so many words, and I don't want that to push people away. But man, let me tell you, for as many words and pages as I'm reading, I feel like we have gone this far in the story, like that. I feel like we have moved like this, like that far. Like, I'm trying to get out the way. Like, that's it. I think that's it. I'm a chapter behind, so going to read. Oh, yeah. No worries, no worries. Go ahead, go. Hurry. Because I'll be starting here probably in about 5 minutes. So, yeah. But I feel like we've only moved like that far. But there is so much history that we've learned at the same time. Like, it's wild. Oh, no worry, Dr. Lego. No worries. We understand. Y'all got things going on. We got M dealing with ticks and tornadoes, and Jake's shocking, and you rainy clouds. It's crazy. We got everybody going through everything. We got emotions. We've got it all here tonight, folks, on Wise Beyond the Stories. A little bit of everything. So yeah, but let's see. Really quick. How do we like court? I know we got to get the procedures down a little bit better. But I think we did pretty good. We're in a tornado watch. Oh, Sam, you're in a tornado watch too. Good Lord. Good Lord. Oh, court was fun. I had lots of fun. I had lots of fun. Seriously, made a lot of valid points. Made a lot of good points, but I don't know. Yeah, I think that's why we had to get the structure. I messed that up. Like I should have had more, but I think before we do the next one too, like I have to make sure I know what we got to know. I think on that, I'm not sure if both sides knew what the charges were, so I think freaking that's one thing. The prosecutor and defense have to make sure they both understand the charges, because I think that's where it kind of threw it off. I don't know. I hate how Kat got off because love versus me being her official charges against the court martial. She didn't get off because of love. I didn't get her out. I didn't put her out because of love. The war crime charges. What are we talking about here? What's going on? What? I think I had you talk about it. I see. Oh, that's what it is. That what it seemed? I see. I didn't even take that into consideration, really. I was just looking at it as she. Okay, I see what you're saying. Okay, I think I see what you're saying. But yeah, I think we gotta bring it down a little bit more. We gotta bring the structure down a little bit better, and then it'll be more there. And then we'll be good. That I gotta remember to stop. I gotta remember to unmute myself before I speak. That was the other thing too. I would say something, you're like, you're muted. And I'm like, fuck, I forgot what I said now. Damn it. So. Oh, that's a good idea, Carissa. Because that was the other thing too, was so many, I didn't know how long it was going to go, and I didn't want to end up being like another 5 hours. So yeah, I think definitely that's a good idea, Dr. Lego. Definitely need to put a timer. Like, I think when we need to do like opening statements, 5 minutes each, and then like we'll read the charges. But like I said, both sides know the charges. 5 minutes opening statements, and then 5 minutes on a charge or something. That's a good idea. Thank you very much. Appreciate you. Ooh, very nice, very nice, very nice, very nice. See how long does it last? Very nice, very nice. Thank you, thank you. All right. So, still got 2 books. All right, what is he? There you go. Let's put that sign in while we start. Come here. That's funny. Here, you want that one or that one? Which one do you start? Which one do you show? Ooh, I saw that. Ooh, in a spin time. Yeah, I'll have to look at all those later. All right, let's get this. All right. So wait, what are we going with? We want to go 1 or 2. 1 or 2. Also, y'all guess what? What? Chicken butt. 1 or 2. 1 or 2. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. 1, 2. You're wild. I got one of each, of course. Of course. Rocky, serious. Carissa, you got a new house? What? Oh no, she thought it was pick. No, I'm just saying, just pick one. Just pick one. Just pick one. 2. We got 2 for 2 and 1 for 1. Which one was 2 again? This one.
1.
Whoa.
No, I'm just
1.
No, it was
1.
2.
Yeah, 1. Oh, they're backwards and they cancel on 1.
Okay,
Secret project will be done tomorrow. Nice. All right, 2. So it was 2.
Yes.
All right. So he's gonna hold it. He's gonna hold that. That was just for the sign. Let's see if it works. Hold the sign, damn it.
I got a bit of sticky tack.
Hang on. I gotta adjust it. I'm gonna have to change his hands because these hands are 3, my lord.
Oh.
Get rid of Timmy. Timmy, you're being difficult today, Timmy. No, push your gut out, Timmy. Push your gut out. There you go. Timmy. There you go, Timmy. Oh, it says Timmy. All right, there we go. Timmy. Okay, so. Woo. Thank you for that. Appreciate you.
Boom.
Womp. All right. So we're about to get reading. It is reading time. You're at 7K. So you get a spin. Let's get our spin going. And then we will get story time going.
Can I spin?
You want to spin it? Spin it.
Okay, this way?
Follow the arrow. Yep, that way. Is that Mr. Is that Jeffy? Is that my Jeffy? What do we get? You better get a good one. Oh, I was going to say, if you get a chode. Oh.
Wishling and Presley.
No, that's a good one. They'll appreciate that one. Chat. Wonderful. Hey, give me one big up for me. Stretch the mind, let's keep going. Got all the words tonight. Ooh, all right. Remember, every 5K earns a new spin. The record is 151. New record gets you a new button. And then 75K. What do we say? We said, that's a I fix an old button. Fix an old button. Or we update a button. That's what it was. 75K is update a button. 75K, we update a button. All right. Are we ready, folks, for some alchemized? Alchemized. All right. Bum. Jeffy, why are you not playing the games, Jeffy? All right. Bum. Anybody reading with me tonight, or am I reading solo and y'all just listening tonight? Boom. All right. Okay. Chapter 6. All right. Alchemized Chapter 6. She said, so 51. Good Lord. Oh, you're good. Okay. 51. Bella, you're flying. You're flying through it. All right. Well, here we go. We got, also just so you know, the baseball game is about to start. So that is on. You know the rule. Dodgers hit a home run. Bum. Free button. Free spin. Let's do it. 59. Good Lord. Good Lord. P, what's up? You've been quiet tonight. I have not seen you chit-chatting. What's up, P? Love. Hello? Yes, go Dodgers. We're playing San Diego, too. Ugh, I hate the Padres. Ugh. So, extra love for the Dodgers tonight. All right. Alchemized Chapter 6. Let's get into it. Ferran left. The maid finished. Ferran left as the maid finished with Helena's slippers, and Helena immediately stood, refusing to let the corpse touch her further. The maid headed inside. The instant her back was turned, Helena snatched up Ferran's discarded newspaper, hiding it behind her back as she drew a deep breath and stepped inside. She focused on the paper in her hand as she hurried towards the stairs. The shadows loomed, but Helena refused to let herself look at them, counting each step, hand pressed against the banister and along the wall, focused on the amber pools of light cast by the scones until she reached her room. In her absence, she had been aired out, the bed stripped, linens changed. The air was almost cold as it had been outside, but the windows were closed and locked again. Helena was drenched and freezing, but Ferran might realized he'd left the newspaper and come for it.
She had no time to waste. She hurried near the window where the light was strongest, her eyes drinking in every word, staring at the very top. Thank you very much for the gifts. Drinking in every word, staring at the very top. November 1788. She stared at the date in shock. That couldn't be right. Her last memory was a clear date, was the hearing about Lilia Bayard, resuming the paladin's duties and returning to combat early 1786. If the war had ended 14 months ago, that would have been in late summer. Thank you very much for the gifts. That would have been in late summer of 1787, which meant that she had no memory of nearly 19 months of the what the... Okay, what? I feel like I'm reading a history book again. What are we doing? It's the Iron Revolution, 1770s, 1876. Are we writing a constitution? Sorry. 1787, which meant that she had no memory of nearly 19 months of the war. It blurred out of focus, and she tried to think back, to remember anything more than the hospital shifts. She had no recollection of anything, not of conversation, or the seasons, or of Luthma's ascension and abeyance. Of anything but the endless loop of shift after shift in the hospitals like an eternal scream. She squeezed her eyes shut, racking her brain. There must be something. She couldn't have lost that much, but it was like trying to catch the wind with her fingers. A sharp pain sprinted through her skull. She blinked. Vision flickered red as her eyes opened. Oh, thanks for the soccer ball. There was a newspaper in her hands, and clutched in tightly. She had read quickly before Ferran noticed, and she'd taken it in. Her eyes raced the first article. The last fugitive of the extremist group, calling themselves the Order of the Eternal Flame, had been apprehended and faces interrogation. The new Paldinia's central office has confirmed the identity of Helen Moreno, a foreign alchemist student of the southern island of Etras. The Estrian government denies any involvement in or support of the Eternal Flame's terrorist activities. Entertainment purposes, TikTok. To protect the citizens of New Pladia from further violence, Marino has been imprisoned outside the city of Spirefell while her fate is decided. Spirefell, the renowned Ferran state, was built of iron by Joris Ferran, with a unique structure built as a celebration of the family's exceptional resonance. The house makes a secure location for dangerous prisoners, the Ferrans of the new paladin's oldest families, and have a history in the region that predates the holdfasts. They were frequent victims of the Eternal Flame's prosecution. Iron Guild Masters Atreus Ferran was arrested and executed for speaking against the holdfast oppressive regime, and his son Cain Ferran was baselessly accused of assassinating Principate Apollo Holdfast. All charges against father and son were later dropped. Ferran had been accused of schmilling the Principate, the assassination responsibility for causing the war. She stared at the words until they blurred. She remembered the Principate Apollo's death. He found brutally murdered in the Alchemy Institute's commons. An investigation had immediately been opened. She didn't remember there had been any conclusion. There had been so much happening at the time, the funeral, the preparations for Luca, to the crown principate, which should have been a joyous occasion, was shrouded by grief and shock. Luca in denial, even as his friends were swearing oaths to dying to protect him. The ceremonies were barely over before sedation and the undying, and the war that never seemed to end. Had Ferran schmilled the Principate Apollo? Surely not. He would have only been 16. Perhaps the claim had been fabricated to further portray the Ferran family as victims of the holdfast. That seemed more likely. She read the rest of the article, hoping for information, but finds seemingly reiteration of the undying's usual narration about the war. They had not started it. That they, in fact, had never been... What? That, in fact, there had never been a war, but civil unrest caused by small groups of religious extremists who refused to acknowledge the democratically elected Paladinian Guild Assembly. This is one of those there is no war in Ba Sing Se type situations. I get it now. Okay. Gotcha. It made Luca out to be a power-hungry monster who tries to burn down the entire city, then rather let anyone else have it. Luca, who'd gone up onto the roof in the alchemy tower the night before becoming the Principate, standing alone on the very edge. Helena had followed him and stood as close as she dared, promising that she would do anything for him if he would just step back and take her hand. He hadn't listened, not until she swore that if he jumped, then she would too. He stepped back to save her. They sat together there on the roof until sunrise. She gripped his hand and talked the whole night, telling him about Etris, the cliffs, the little villagers with the donkeys pulling painted carts, the olives from the farms, and the sea of summer days. They'd go there someday, she told him. Once everything was better. She'd take him to see how beautiful it was. Luca had never wanted to be Principate. If there had been anyone else, he would have given it up in a heartbeat. Helena turned the page of the newspaper, blinking hard. A column within listed executions performed by the High Reeve the previous week. There was a picture of a wrenched-looking man and a woman on their knees on a platform, dressed in all black, with intricate helmet obscuring their face and hair. Stood Ferron, one pale hand outstretched. She could tell it was Ferron, just by his posture and the familiar tilt of the long fingers, but the article only referred to him as the High Reeve. There was no reference anywhere to Cain Ferron being the High Reeve. Was that a secret? Who would benefit from that? If the deteriorating condition of the estate was anything to go by, it was not the Ferrons. No, Mura must be responsible. After all, keeping the High Reeve's identity hidden proved the High Necromancer with exceptionally powerful tool. If the High Reeve could be anyone, people were kept paranoid, always wondering. It would also prevent Ferron from gathering his own followers and accumulating enough power to overthrow Moreau. Perhaps Ferron had ambitions for Moreau feared. That was a tantalizing possibility, something Helen might have to take advantage of. It also made Sparefile the perfect trap. If anyone tried to save Helen, they would assume they were attacking a guild heir. They'd have no idea who their captor truly was. She read the rest of the paper quickly. There were some vague allusions to shortage grains. It was strange. The countries on both sides of Padilla were significant agriculture exporters. The Novice monarchy and historical ties with the Holdfast, and so embargoed by the Novice, was predictable. But Hevgross, the western neighbor, and the heavy materialistic country, thank you, had been angling for better trade agreements with the guild for decades. Hey, Court, thanks for stopping by. No worries, get it, read your book and crash. It's been a Monday. I'm telling you, everybody's had a Monday. You know what I'm saying? And thanks for the little hamster there, Mr. J. I appreciate you, good sir. Appreciate you. All right. The Holdfast has always blocked the negotiations, refusing to have alchemy used for industrialized welfare. Guilds found to be violating the trade restrictions with Hevgoss as had their access to Lumineth cut off, preventing them from alchemy process on the industrial scale. Why wouldn't Hevgross be pouring grain into Palladium now? The political section of the paper was almost funny in a horrible way. The Guild Assembly, whose formation was obstinately... Why are we using the... Jesus Christ. Obtensely, the reason for the war. When 3 weeks into negotiations over the lift fare, as if New Pallada had nothing more urgent to do before the hibernal solstice ushered in the new year. Okay, Danny, more interesting was a paragraph mentioning the Palladium Armory had arrived in the Eastern Empire, had been permitted to cross the border. It was the first time any paladins had been allowed in the Eastern Empire in several hundred years. Let's go. What was what that there that what was that where that traitor? God, that's a tongue twister. Was that where that traitor Shiso had been headed? Helena mostly skipped the society pages, but she couldn't help noticing how often Laura Farron's name was mentioned. Quite the socialite, it seemed. Then the editorial caught her eye. It was almost innocuous, describing the current labor shortage in the laminating and the recent losses of so many talented alchemists in the conflict caused by the eternal flame. There was statistical presence in Padilla's economy, and it was expected to continue to shrink due to the multi-generational loss of alchemists. The solution, the author declared, was sponsored bursts. The article suddenly stopped being editorial and read more like an advertisement. Why is okay, maybe this is relevant later. The head of the new science of the alchemy department at the Central Immergestad was heading up the program to bolster the next generation of alchemists using new scientific selection methods to give them the best start. Volunteers were wanted. Participants would be provided with food, lodging, and upon completion of the program, those with criminal convictions would be eligible for a retrial. For real, she be loving these $10 words. I'm telling you, she spelled checked it with the thesaurus. Good Lord. Retrials. All right, Helena read the editorial several times, hardly able to believe what she was seeing. It was a breeding program being passed off as an economical solution. As if alchemists were dogged to mate in pursuit of economically desirable transmutation. Why do we economically desirable transmutational abilities? Like why are we? It was an entirely new concept. Marrying in the residence was a well-known term for the guild family's tendencies to marry those with either the same or complementary alchemical residence. Laura and Farron were just such an example. While an alchemist residence repertoire was as hireable as hair and eye color, residence could also appear or vanish at random. Neither of Helena's parents had been alchemists. Her father had possessed a minor residence for steel and copper, but not enough to merit training or qualify for a guild. Her mother had no resonance at all, and Helena could remember Luca's great-aunt, Iva Holdfast, was famously a lapse, a child of alchemist who never manifested, say it with me, resonance. Now it seems Stroud had even intended on testing exactly how inheritable resonance was or wasn't, as she intended to use the prisoner on the outpost to do it. After all, who else volunteered for the breeding program because of incentives like food, lodging, and a retrial? She thought of Grace, starving and desperate, while brothers too young to work, willing to sell eyes. Helena could only guess how many others were like her. All those files Stroud had been consistently going through must have been what she was working on, winnowing out eligible candidates from the resistance records. Helena hid the newspaper in her wardrobe, resolving to drop it somewhere when she next left her room. Her joints were stiff and cold, and she went to the shower, peeling off her wet clothes. She stood under the hot water until feeling seeped back into her body. Thank you for the lightning bolts. And her body and the bone-deep cold faded away. She began washing slowly, in no hurry, began back into the freezing room. Thank you for the lightning bolt. As she looked down, she discovered scars that she had no memory of. The largest was in the right middle of her chest, running between her breasts. The roping scar was raised, slightly puckered, as if her sternum had been split open and stapled back together. Ow! She traced her fingers across it, finding a divot in a bone, an odd sensation over severed nerves. It didn't seem like healing had been used. The bone could have been regrowed. She could have easily knit the nerve endings back together to avoid the loss of sensation, and then arranged the matrices, and so the scarring was less visible. None of that happened. The wound had been left to heal without vivimancy. Perhaps this was the extensive injury Shroud had mentioned. No, she couldn't have been placed in stasis with an injury like that. She began to search her body carefully and found more scars. Her mind seemed trained to overlook him, but she focused, taking a note of each one. There were traces of a large circular wound that went straight through her calf, hairline scars on her stomach, and another between her two ribs. Vivimancy had undeniably been used to heal them. Her right palm, there were more scars, slits in the palms and the fingers, and gripped a knife blade in her hand. And more oddly, 7 tiny punctures. They were perfectly spaced in circles on her palm, not large, but distinct in the way they marred the skin. She stared at them. The shape felt familiar. She put her hand down, unsettled, and finally reached up to find one scar that she did remember. It was hardly visible, hidden below the shadow of her jaw. It ran long and thin across the left side of her neck, stopping just short of her throat. Veron brought Helena's dried, clean cloak with him when he arrived the next day and threw it at her head. Helena frowned and surreptitiously dropping the newspaper along the way. On the veranda, he pulled out another paper. The cover story was a monument of the governor. Fabian Greenfinch was having built in honor of Morrow as the new Paladin's liberator. It would be unveiled the following year. It was raining again. Helena glanced around, not sure what to do, finding no appeal in strolling about in circles under Ferran's supervision. Perhaps she could find a very sharp stick somewhere and stab him with it. Oh, Lord, what's going on with Jake now? Oh, no, Jake needs help. We gotta help Jake. Jake needs help, guys. Jake needs help. Gotta help Jake. What does Jake need help with? She wandered along the veranda until she was bored and then sat observing the stillness of the house, trying to guess at how many rooms there must be in a place so large. She thought of the Bayards' house, soulless, splendorous, enormous. It had been one of the few free standing houses in the city, a remnant from long ago. Spirefell was much larger when Ferran stood. She assumed it was a sign to go back inside. The cast of her eyes around was a disappointment to find she had not forgotten the newspapers. She went to the door. The winter light spilled in quicksilver across the dark floor, but the hallway beyond disappeared into darkness. Like the opening of the mouth with the winter drapes, the light was blotted out and creating the dusty, suffocating feel of the tomb. The lights were off. She groped along the wall, trying to find a dial or a switch. Wind rushed out of the dark, and the smell of the dust and the rot stuck to her face like cold breath, followed by a low, shifting groan that made the house vibrate. Helena stumbled back outside, heart racing. If the clouds would lift, they would be brighter. She huddled on the veranda waiting. Though through the obscured rain, the house around her looked almost like an immersed, slumbering creature, curved inwards, the spires like spines. The rain did not cease. Instead, the sky dimmed and dusk fell. At the point, the lunar circles, even Lumitha in the brighter moon, had waned too much for her light to penetrate the cloud cover. The light in the doorway had shrunk and weakened. Helena drew a deep breath. She'd taken the route before. There were steps not far into the shadows. If she found them, she could feel the way back. It was only shadows. It wasn't the tank. It wasn't the nothing. Just shadows. She wavered in the doorway and everything grew darker. The remaining light outside began to vanish. Helena felt herself disappearing into it. Terror sharp as talons clawed through her as she forced herself forward. She stumbled, colliding with the table, barely feeling the pain that shot up her shin. Ow! Find the stairs. It's only a house. But she felt the darkness swallowing, dragging her in, the endlessness so close. She gripped the table, hand shaking, so violently that the wood rattled. Something fell, crashing into the floor. Breathe. Just breathe. She fought to breathe, but the pain splintered in her chest. Her heart was racing, breathing like a caged bird inside her, breaking itself against her ribs. She made it a few steps before her legs gave out. She curled up on the floor, the wood-like bones beneath her hands. She was disappearing into nothing again, into nothing where she couldn't move, couldn't scream, and no one ever came. She was gripped by the arms and wrenched to the floor. What are you doing? She blinked in the sudden light, staring at Ferran's incensed face. The electric sconce on the wall glowed in a halo in the dark, illuminating only them. She focused on his face, trying not to see the ocean of black surrounding her. It was dark, she forced out. What? Her breathing was so rapid, her head swam. You're scared of the dark? His silvery eyes were burning, his voice thick with disbelief. She tried to pull away. She'd rather suffocate in the hallways than be near Ferran. But he didn't let go, pulling her over to the stairs, mere steps away, and dragging her to the room, refusing to let her collapse back to the floor. Calm down. He snared at her as soon as she was inside the familiar space. The door slammed. Helena dropped to the chair, doubling over and gripping the fabric. Her fingers kept twitching, sending shocks of pain to her arms, but she didn't care. She needed to feel that thing were real and tangible, not an abyss of nowhere, where her body and nothing else. The air sliced through the inside of her lungs. She was in her room. The house had not eaten her, because houses did not eat people. Her mind clearly slowed. That suffocating terror gradually ebbed away, allowing reason to seep back in. It was almost worse to be irrational again, to sit knowing her fear made no sense. It didn't matter. The part of her that was afraid did not care about being rational. What's wrong with you? She startled, looking up. Ferran was still in the room, apparently having lingered to integrate. Ferran was still in the room, apparently having lingered to interrogate her now that her fit of panophobia was over. She averted her eyes. If you won't tell me, I'll pull the answer out of your head. Helena flinched. The thought of his resonance set her teeth on edge. There were parts of her brain that still felt bruised, caving from the transference. Her mouth twisted, throat gone, taunt. I don't like places I can't see. Since when? I haven't noticed you keeping the light on in here constantly. Or are these shadows different? Heat rose across the back of her neck. He stared at the iron bars on the floor. I know this room. It's the places I don't know. I can't see to the end of. In the stasis tank, it was always dark, no matter how hard I tried to see, and I couldn't feel anything around me, just my body floating and not moving. It felt endless, like I was nowhere. I was there so long. I kept thinking that eventually someone would come, but she shook her head. When I see dark places and I don't know where they end, I feel like I'll disappear inside them. But this time, I'll never be found. She sounded irrational. She was irrational. But there was no help for it. There was a schism between her reason and her mind, a fault line, shearing them forever apart. Her mind did not care whether the fear made sense. It just wanted it to never go back. Ferran was silent for so long that she finally looked up at him, morbidly curious, but he was unreadable, still as a statue as he stared at her. It was the first time she'd bothered to just look at him, to see him for what he was, or rather than who he was. His clothing hid it well, but he was strangely slight. Not at all built like an iron alchemist. He didn't even have the look of presence of a combat alchemist. She couldn't imagine him with the heavy weapon in hand. Aside from the predatory intent in his eyes, his features were almost too fine, like a statue carved a stroke too far. Everything about him was slim and sharp-edged. You know, Ferran said, jolting her from the thoughts. When I heard it was you I'd be getting, I was looking forward to breaking you. He shook his head, but I don't think it's possible to exceed what you've done to yourself. I think we took like one more step forward in the story. Wow. Okay. I got it. She's still recovering. We got the history. Like literally, that's it. That was not that. Like, all right. There's a glitch in the matrix. Ghost. Oh, Pixie's here. What's up, Pixie? Stories in the cord. You sure about that? I don't know if I'm sure about anything. All right. Wow. That was so much. So much and yet nothing. Okay. We got, where are we at? Where are we at? 18. Wow. So you get, excuse me. 2 spins. 2 spins. 5 to 18. You get 10 and 15. So you're starting at 18. All right. Let's get these spins in. Let's get these spins in. Timmy. Oh. Here we go. Round and round it goes, where it stop only Timmy knows. Spin time, it's spin time, spin time. What do we got? Oh, wee. Yeah. All right, second spin, round and round it goes, where it stops only it knows. Oh, where do we go? Oh, oh, oh. My bad. I know what it means. Derp derp. All right, let me get those back. Here, we're gonna play Timmy with story time. It's story time. It's story time with Timmy. Story time with Timmy. Story time with Timmy. Oh shit, Timmy, you're not a very good sign holder. Ow. Now you're falling on the fucking ground. Timmy! Here, have a free button.
I've always liked to play fire. I've always liked to play.
All right, there we go. All right. Now, Timmy, you gotta hold the sign right, Timmy. Timmy. All right. Hold the sign. Now you go in and then we push out. Push your hands together. Timmy, we practiced this for 45 minutes, my guy. Thank you. Like, we practiced this. 45 minutes. Come on, my guy. Making us look like we're running a 2-bit operation here. God. Seriously, you think Liz is going to stay with us? You got Emily with a guy making 100K and you can't even hold the sign. How do you expect to get a woman like this? My guy, come on. Think about it. Find your skill. We're working on signs right now, okay? We're moving up. Yes. Signs to lettuce washer. You'll be okay. Listen, we don't have a chode right now for you to do videos. I'm sorry. Hey, look at me. I'm sorry. Yes, Jonas is gone. What do you want me to do? We don't have a chode. Anyway. All right, sorry. We're still, he's still upset. He doesn't have a video yet. Oh, all right. Anyway, here we go. Timmy did survive that cat attack. I tell you what. I'm sorry. You want a purple heart? No. Anyway, digressing. Okay, where are we at? All right, you started 18K, chapter 7. Let's get to it. All right. Ferran took her to and from the courtyard each day. His mood was always dark after that, and he mockingly pointed out the location of various light switches that she was too dense to observe on her own. He was so condescending. She wanted to throw a rock at him, and was disappointed when she found nothing outside but little pieces of finely milled white gravel. The courtyard bored her. It was tedious and bitterly cold, the winter snow bearing down in the clouds, although it was never more than a dusting on the ground, enough to leave her feet numb with cold. When alone, she ventured out of her room, determined to find a plausible weapon. Even a furniture nail would do. If Ferran wouldn't slip up and do it, she'd schmill herself before another transference session arrived. In 2 hours, when the light trickled through the eastern windows, if she stayed near the walls and thought very carefully about breathing, she could manage the excursions. But whenever she left her room for long, the neck-with-falls began materializing. They didn't try to stop her or herd her back into her room. They just watched her, hovering like ghostly apparitions. She tried to ignore them along the creaks and groans of the house and the shifting shadows, but they made it impossible for her to find any meaning of chopped suey. She persisted doggedly, but most of the rooms were locked tight, and those that were not held nothing but old furniture and useless knickknacks. In one room, she found a painting crammed behind a disassembled bed frame. It was covered with a dust cloth, and she pulled it out. Curious, the drawing the fabric back. It was a portrait of the Farron family. Not Farron, what is her? Aurora, but Farron and a boy with his parents. I don't know that chick's name. I don't know. I still can't figure it out. I am not even trying to butcher that chick's name. She's an a-hole anyway. Anyway, all right. But Farron, his boy, and his parents. Arturus Farron, the former patriarch, was a large man Helena vaguely remembered seeing at the Institute. He had hawkish features and harshly lined face, and heavy brows that shadowed pale blue eyes. He was elegantly dressed, but the family's lineage in blacksmith and ironmongers was plain to see in his build. His broad shoulders and huge hands with heavy irons decorating his fingers. Cain Ferran stood beside his father. He looked exactly as he remembered from the Institute, so unlike the distilled iteration he would become. His face was fuller, and while he was almost the same height as his father, he had none the build that made the patriarch so intimidating. Ferran was gangly. There's nothing wrong with gangly. A lot of cool people are gangly, okay? A lot of cool people are gangly. I'm just saying. With the air of the cult, the manners were clear, intimidation of the man looming beside him, from brown hair lighter than his father, but styled identically. His expression and posture almost mirroring Arturus' dark brown draws down over hazel eyes. The central figure of the portrait is a woman in a pale gray dress. She wore an iron ring on her wedding ring. We are still talking about the picture. She wore an iron ring on her wedding ring, but the hands were so delicate that it looked out of place. Her hands were delicate. Why were her hands delicate? She was sight of the willow in a heart-shaped face, gray eyes, and small chin framed ash-brown hair. If Helena had seen a portrait of her alone, she would have never guessed that she was Ferran's mom. But side by side, she could see her influence in his build. By the way her features softened, Ferran's easing the harsh, hawkish angles and build he would have inherited from his father. But there was the greatest likeness in their mouths, something in the light and the tilt of the eyes. Helena studied the faces for a long time before noticing that the portrait was incomplete. The details of the clothing and the motifs usually included in such portraiture were absent, as if something had interrupted it. and that is why it was abandoned. She let the dust cloth slip from the fingers and tucked the painting back into its hiding place. Her mind flipped like a coin between the dark-haired Pharaon and the painting and the silvery pale iteration that now existed. Good Lord. O'Reilly? Yeah, she's a chodette. She's about the only chode that we've seen. Yeah, O'Reilly. Okay, O'Reilly, that's her name. All right, cool. All right. The inflammation is nearly gone, Stroud announced 2 weeks later, bringing Mandel with her once again and pressing her resonance intrusively into Helena's brain until her vision turned red. I think monthly sessions will do, although she picked up Helena's wrist, inspecting her muscle tone with disapproval. You're not recovering the way I'd hoped. Are you going outside daily? Yes, the High Reeves had been ensuring it. And exercising? The stronger your constitution is, the more likely you'll handle transference without any more feeble seizures. Helena stared at Shroud's speechless disbelief as this revelation that no one had seen fit to reveal previously. She'd had seizures? What did you say? Okay. All right. All the details that we've been reading about, I didn't read that. Shroud stared back expectantly, as it took her a moment to remember that the woman walks might prevent them. Yes, Helena bit out. Good. It's been noted that you have a bit of nervous disorder. Helena's jaw tensed. Of course, Ferran would have told Shroud. Yes, I don't like dark places. I don't know. There was a snort of laughter from Mandel. Well, not much to be done about that, Shroud said, and resumed her examination of Helena. You know, it's a pity I can't use you as one of my program's trial subject. I was rereading your admission paperwork. You had remarkable repertoire. Helena's throat closed. The holdfasts did love collecting rare alchemists, said Mandel. Helena bit her tongue until she tasted blood. Stroud nodded. Once the High Reeve is done with you, I think I might request to have you next. Helena's chin snapped. Well, you won't have much luck with me. I'm sterilized. She winced to Stroud's resonance, suddenly jabbed into her lower abdomen. A moment later, disappointed and anger lit Stroud's face. When did this happen? Helena looked away, staring across the room so hard her vision blurred. It was one of the conditions the Falcon had for allowing me into the city, since vivimancy is a corruption of the soul that begins in the womb. It could be passed on. I'd already taken vows as a healer that I would never marry or have children, but he wanted to be sure. And of course you agreed, Soudstred, withdrawing her hand, because you thought they'd accept you accept what you are if only you reduced yourself enough. I kind of agree with Shroud on that one. I was kind of a fucked up situation. All right. The heat spread along Helena's jaw. There wasn't any point in refusing. Like I said, I'd already made the vows. Shroud chuckled. Usually it was children who fell for that lie. Helena looked at her eyes narrowly. Shroud had an arched expression and glanced at Mandel again. Didn't you know? The eternal flame was quite adequate with identifying potential vivimancers not even born. What did you say? It was, 30 years ago that Principate Helios mandated that all pregnancies be managed by the Faith's hospitals? Devout doctors trained to know what to look for situations to offer, what kind of parents would want to keep a monster once they were warned of the dangers. Helena's stomach clenched. Mandel was an abandoned birth, raised as an orphan in one of the Ares. Children like her were told that the soul's corruption must be purified, and that if they did what they'd ask, they might be wanted someday. Shroud shrugged. Of course, neither the Faith nor Pallida ever did want them for anything but forced labor. And look, they handled you the same way. No, Helena said, shaking her head. Luca wasn't like that. He didn't even know about the conditions of me becoming a healer, or how healing worked. He wouldn't have left me if he'd known. People like Falcon and Matthias had harsh views, but Luca was always reining in people like Falcon, and once it was over, he wanted to Ooh, he wanted to what? If he didn't know, all that means is that he was a puppet and a fool. And you're still one, Mandel said, her dead face seething with hatred, before she turned to Shroud. You should tell her what his eminence did with Holdfast after he schmilled her. Helena's stomach dropped like a stone. She looked quietly between them, and Shroud shook her head. Remember your place, Mandel. When they were gone, Helena sat frozen and wondering what had happened to Luca. Of course, it was no surprise they hadn't cremated you properly. But what had done to Mandel? What Helena tortured with knowledge of? But what had been done that Mandel wanted Helena tortured with knowledge of? But Luca had deserved the cruelty and hatred had been subjected to. She admitted he didn't know everything, but that wasn't because he was a puppet. The position of Principate was complex. Of being religious head of the ruler was a difficult task, especially during war when he was expected to be fighting and governing. He couldn't weigh down everyone else's personal decisions. Some choices had to be made without him. Certain sacrifices that would have paralyzed him to make or even know him. That didn't make him a puppet. It made him human. Helena had loved him for how human he was. He didn't need to be Principate or favored by the gods. He'd been good enough just as he was. Fern made his routine appearance as Helena's inedible lunch. She was resigningly to fetch... Ferran made his routine appearance after Helena's inedible lunch. She was resigningly to fetch her cloak. No need today, he said. She paused, looked at him warily. The door closed behind him with a soft click. The finger spun, and his resonance seized hold of her. She was pulled forward. Once she was near the bed, his hand flicked, toppling her back onto the mattress. Ferran sauntered over, expression bored and only emotionless, a glint in his eyes. Helena bit her lip to keep quiet, willing her breathing to steady as she fought against his resonance. Now, that's not the only thing she's going to be fighting against in a minute, I think. Oh, no. Sorry, digressing. He stared down at her through the hooded. She hadn't even considered this. Should she have? She knew he was a monster, but he'd never shown interest. As if interest had anything to do with. Her mind raced. Why now? Why today? Had Shroud mentioned that Helena was sterile, and he'd seen an opportunity, something he could exploit without consequence. A whimper crept up her throat. She wished she could sink through the surface of the mattress and suffocate there. Wished she could scream. Her fingers managed to flex, but in a place where her resonance should be, there was nothing but a gaping wound. His right hand pressed into the mattress by her head and turned her chin until she looking straight up at him. Her heart shuddered. His pupils were contracted, the graze of his irises like a storm. His cool fingers followed the curve of her jaw to her temples. She laid, viscerally aware of the almost weight of his body, as his resonance pierced her mind. Her mind was like an upturned snow globe, and all her thoughts whirled like snow fairies through her consciousness. It wasn't transference, but she could vaguely sense his mind through the connection, enduring his amusement at the ideas for her of schmilling him. It had grown into the veritable constellation of fantasies. He skimmed through them all without concern, and then sank deeper into her mind, watching her tentative explorations of the house, the courtyard, the necrothals, the newspapers she'd stolen, Shroud. The only moment in which she felt any glimmer of reaction from him was at her constant thought of Luca, the scale of her grief. Then she was in her room reaching for her cloak, and when the door was closed, she knew what was about to happen. The memory evaporated like a fog beneath the bright sun, and she found herself lying on the bed, Ferran staring down at her with scathing expression on her face. He snatched his hand away. I have no desire to touch you, he said, sneering. Your presence here is offensive enough. Small mercies, Helena said in a dry voice. It wasn't a very clever retort, but her head was throbbing again. as if the scab of the wound had been peeled off while the skin was fresh. He straightened, and she thought he'd walk off in offense as she asked offense, so she quickly asked the question haunting her. Did you kill Principate Apollo? He paused, leaned against the bedpost, crossing his arms and cocking his head to the side. Not officially. But it was you, wasn't it? The more she thought about it, the more convinced she'd become. You don't remember? He shook his head. Do you even do anything during the war? The way you hold fast used to parade you around. You'd think you would have at least tried to be useful, but you have the most unexceptional personnel file I have ever seen. He scuffed. How many years of your life did you spend in that hospital? And for what? Saving people who would have been better off if you'd let them die? But no, you put them back together and sent them right back out to suffer a bit more. He gave a low smile. Perhaps Shroud's wrong and you were sympathetic to our cause. He couldn't have hurt her more if he'd struck her. All those years, all those people she'd healed. Her resonance, knitting them back together so they could live to fight another day. For what? So they could be tortured? So they could be tortured to death? Or enslaved? Or worse? Until the moment, healing had been the only thing she hadn't felt guilt over. Luca might be dead, but she'd be gone. But she had done some good. Now Ferran had ripped the shred of the comfort away, turning the act into her own form of atrocity. She clamped her hand over her mouth until she could feel the outline of her teeth curling on her side. He laughed. Your resistance fighters are always easy to break. He turned to leave. The grief swelled inside her lungs, but she fought it back. You didn't answer my question, she said through gritted teeth. He paused. Right, well, I suppose there's no harm in telling you. The High Nuck Romancer personally requested that I kill the Principate. He'd been in Pallada for some time already, quietly gathering followers. But with Apollo in power, the Guild Assembly would never have garnered enough public support. The country needed to be disestablished, the future made to feel uncertain. The Principate was impossible to target in public with his paladins, guards, and everyone else flocking around, worshipping his radiance. But the holdfasts were careless, and the institutes convinced that anyone who walked through those gates would be too dazzled by their magnificence to lay a finger on them. She watched from the corner of her eye as Ferran held up his left hand studying it. I'm sure you know what a fascinating resonance vivamancy is. Sinking my hand into her chest cavity like breaking the surface of water, slipping right in. His fingers curled. Then I pulled out the beating heart. You should have seen the shock of his face. I hadn't realized he'd still be alive for a moment, but he'd lived just long enough to know exactly who schmilled him. Principate Apollo had been warm, excuse me, a generous man with an easy smile, jokes ready for any nervous student who approached. Luca had been so much like him, the same crooked smile. Being near him felt like standing in the summer sun. I suppose your master was quite pleased with you, she said dully, not wanting to give him the satisfaction of witnessing her horror. He was indeed. They were all waiting for me when I returned. We had a celebratory dinner with him, my mother and I. I was declared a prodigy. Helena glanced up. Her eyes were locked on the window, and though his mind had gone elsewhere, he roused himself, glancing down. Any other questions? He arched an eyebrow as if daring her. No, she said quickly, looking away. You've done enough. Wow. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. What is happening, y'all? Woo! Good googly moogly. I'm telling you. All right, where are we at? 26. So you got 2 more spins. Very busy tonight on 9 people. No worries, no worries. All right, nice. You got 20. Yep, 20 and 25. So you stopped at 26. 26K. Yay. Oh no, the storms are coming. Are y'all good? Are y'all buckled down? We need a jar for every time we say resonance, right? For real. The resonance jaw. The resonance jaw. It's like the swear jar. But with magic. Ooh, redheads. With resonance. Resonance. Bum 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 bum. Bum bum bum. What do we got? Spin a spin a spin. Ah. Re-spin. All right.
My name is Chode Barlow.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's the first chode on the wheel. I think I can get one more throw me tonight, guys. I think we got one more. Ah. Woo. We good for one more? Are we good? So how are we doing so far? We're good. We're good. We're good. We're good. We're good. It's just, again, it is so, I like it, but it's so many words and I'm just like, all right, where are we at? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? He's like, one more. Are we resonating? Right? For real. I think we are resonating. We are resonating and transponder. Transponding! I feel like we're transponding, not transferring, but you know, transponding. All right. All right, here we go. It's water, TikTok. It's water. Water. All right, chapter 8. Let's get this one in. It's a long one. It's 28 minutes. All right. I don't even have the kids, and I feel like I'm up more at night with just the two dogs. That's funny. Oh, that's funny, Carissa. All right. Chapter 8. Let's go. Luca Holdfast sat on the rooftop of the alchemy. Okay, so we're flashing back again. All right. Luca Holdfast sat on the rooftop of the alchemy tower, hunched back against the tilt of the tiles as he absently spun an opium pipe from his fingers. You shouldn't be doing that, guy. That drugs are bad. We do not condone that. Drugs are bad. Good. The spire of the tower, lit with the eternal flame, burned above him. A beacon of white light. The sun was settling. The words hued in bronze shadows as Helena chambered across. As Helena clambered across to join him. He was so gaunt he already looked older than his father. The war had chewed him down to the bone. The tendons along his neck stood out like cords, and when he swallowed, looked over and then away again. What happened to us, Hel? He asked as he crouched down beside him. She stared at the horizon, past the towers towards the south. A war, she said. You used to believe in me. What did it do to make you stop? His voice was far away. I still believe in you, Luca, she said. But we have to win this war. We can't make choices because we want a certain story to tell later. There's too much at stake. No, he said. This is how we win. This is how we've always won. My father, my grandfather, all the principates going all the way back to Oran. They won by trusting the good would triumph over evil. Well, trust in one hand and shit in the other and see which one fills first. I'm just saying. And I have to do the same. I'm sorry. Sorry. His thumb flicked against his index finger. Ignition rings sparkling. Pale flames flared to life, filling his palms in a light of a small sun. His fingers closed around them, leaving only the tongue of fire along the fire tip as he tucked the opium pipe between his lips and brought the flame close to the bowl. Helena looked away, listening for him to inhale. What if he's not that simple, though, she said. Everyone who wins, they say we're good. But they're the ones who tell the stories. They get to choose, well, who will remember it. What if it's never that simple? He shook his head. Orin became sunblessed because he refused to break his faith. Helena exhaled, burying her face in her hands. She heard the ring spark and the pipe hiss as the opium vaporized. Luca, please, let me help you. She tried to reach towards him. He flinched away. Don't touch me. He was teetering dangerously close to that immersed fall, as if the abyss still called to him. She didn't know how to draw him back anymore. What to say? Show me titty! Sorry. Do you remember what I promised you, Luca, that night you came out here? She asked, her voice pleading. He gave no response. His gaze had settled back into the dim stupor, the sunset limning in the gaunt features as gilding him. I promised I'd do anything for you. She curled her fingers into the fist. Maybe you didn't realize how far I was willing to go. You ain't got to hit him, just show him a titty. Jesus, that's all I'm saying. Sorry. Digressing. The memory of Luca lingered in Helena's mind when she woke in the morning. She lay in bed replying it as a forgotten memory, which should have frightened her. But there seemed to be no information in that Ferran couldn't find useful. Is Mr. Raz the spare human in your house? The only way go, oh, that's funny. Even if his memory was bitter sweet water. He'd been smoking opium. How had that happened? He must have been horrifically injured to be allowed schmugs like that. His great aunt Liva, who acted as steward for the Principates when Luca was at the front, had always been reluctant to allow him on schmugs, preferring to utilize Helena's abilities than risk addiction. But he wouldn't even let Helena touch him. She lay in bed, turning the memory over and over, taking note of every detail. The evening light, the way it bronzed his features, illuminated his eyes, the nervous, intense the way his fingers moved as he sparked his rings, bringing the flames to life. She loved his pyromancy. It always felt more like magic than alchemy, the way he could make his fire extension of himself with those sun-bright flames. The holdfasts were always depicted, whether the fire and the creations of the sacred fire and the alchemization of gold were the two unique gifts with soul bestowed upon holdfast. Alchemization and the transformation of one metal into another was the most difficult form of alchemy. Prior to Orin's holdfast founding of the Institute, early alchemy writing was more entwined with mythological ideas than science. The mythical Cetus, often called the first northern alchemist, was credited with hundreds, even thousands of the earliest alchemist writings in span centuries. Scholars had speculated that Cletus was the name of the school or an alchemist sect. The mystery was later revealed to be the consequential of the superstition. Earlier alchemists were forced to write pseudonymously. That means different names. Intentionally to avoid prosecution, while later novice alchemists used the names of more famous alchemists in their attempts to legitimize their theories and discoveries. As a result, Cletus had written almost all the surviving alchemy texts. While the works of Cetus were considered historically seminal, they were highly inaccurate, and it was doubted that any alchemist by that name even existed. But with no one else to credit, almost all early alchemist theories and discoveries prior to Pallada's founding remain attributed to him. It was Cletus's early writings that is Cletus. Why do I keep calling him Cletus? Cletus. God damn. Cetus. I keep calling him Cletus. Cetus. Anyway. Principate that the metal could only be alchemized into a less noble form. So they're saying you can only make it go down, not up. Okay, often keeping with the planetary hierarchy. Later, Ornhorfast discovered that modern principles of alchemization and overturning Cetus' claims and laying forth the methods of arraying principles needed to transform the ignoble metals into the less corruptible. In Orn's work, alchemization was predictable upon spiritual purity. Only an alchemist with the soul as pure as the metal they sought to create could alchemize it. It was soul's own light and purity bestowed upon the blessing of him hold fast and endured them with the divine ability to turn lead into lead into pure gold. However, Luca had always preferred pyromancy. There were stricter rules for the family had to abide by when alchemizing gold. The heavenly metal could not be abused or used for selfish purpose. After all, neighboring countries and Palada's own currency had to be respected. There were rules about fire too, but not nearly so elaborate as those involving gold production. She remembered the first time Lucas showed her his fire. I bet you do. She'd been sure the flames would burn him, but they simply danced across the surface, wide of the fingers shining like a star in his hand. Even without the flames, she'd always felt warm near Luca. Even the cold Paladinian winters were thawed by the presence alone. Now she missed him so intensely, her bones and skin ached for the familiar and comfort of a hug. Helena had finished her exploration of the second-floor ring and resolved to explore the downstairs next. She stood staring down the shadowy twist of the stairs, and the wind panes rattled and the clattering teeth in the wind mourning through the corridors. Her fingers curled tight around the banister, smooth as a bone against her palms. She squeezed until she could feel the wood gain, wrist twingling against the manacles. She refused to let her eyes sink into the shadows as she stepped forward. The thought about the cliffs and the Etras and the endless roar of the sea. In her memory, she was a child again, scrambling along the tide pools of the summer in the Albanians. During the summer of abeyance, when Lumitha waned and the sea retreated, leaving the bed laid bare full of treasures, the brilliant summer radiating across her skin. Helena would go south, run away, and follow the river from the mountains all the way to the sea and sail home. She reached the bottom of the stairs and found the Necrothal waiting. All the amber lights already aglow. Farron's wordless, I didn't mean to turn the page. Oh, no. Wait, how many did I like? Aglow, Farron's wordless reminder that she could do nothing and go nowhere without his knowledge. She swallowed hard, letting off a fantasy. She would die in Spirefall. The rooms of the main floor flowed from one to the next. Spirefall seemed to have more rooms than the Ferrons had ever known what to do with. Come back here. I'm not done with you. A harsh voice made Helena freeze before she realized it was not directed at her. The moon was full and the tide turned. Right? For real, Belle. I'm telling you. Trying to... Woo. Okay, I'm glad it's just not me. There's nothing more to say, came Ferron's voice. I'm not interested. Don't walk away from me. Disobey me and I'll have you disowned. Your name stricken from the guild. Helena peeked out into the corridor to see Ferron turning to face the lynch that she'd seen with shrouded central, this one using Crowthor's body. You're dead, father. Perhaps you forgot. The corpse has no claim to my estate or my inheritance. And, Ferron's voice grew pointed, you have no iron residence inside that body. Regardless of the titles you guild indulges you with, you have no real power. It took nearly a year before anyone even remembered you, and longer before they wanted you back. The only reason I let you continue as guildmaster is because I have better things to do with my time than dealing with the minute factory management. The Lich's face darkened until it was almost purple with rage. Helena would never have guessed that this was Arturus Ferron. Crowther was a different build entirely, so slight that it was needle-like and more than half head shorter than Ferron. I should have refused your mother's pleas and had you schmilled in the womb. God damn it, baby Jesus. Arteris said, his face contorted with rage. You deserve none of the suffering we endured for you. Ferran seemed unfazed, even slightly bored. A pity you didn't. If it would have spared me this tedious conversation. He turned away, his gray eyes still alight with the scorn. Get out of this house, father, before I have you thrown out. Helena ducked back out of sight, dreading discovery. The Necrothal, trailing her, blinked placidly. You'll regret this. The High Necromancer will remember that you did not volunteer yourself. Then the High Necromancer knows exactly where I am and what I'm doing. If he wants something, he won't have to relay by the likes of you. After all, how many times did you manage to fail him to be banned from receiving a corpse with iron resonance? Was it the second or third time? God damn. Well, I guess your dad's really not gonna say shit to you when he's in a corpse's body. I'm just saying. There was a snarl, followed by the sudden scream of metal and thud. She peeked out again. Arteris was on the ground, one of the bars of iron. Yeah, go ahead. Oh, no, you can wash all that stuff. Yeah, it's fine. As long as, yeah, you're good. Arteris was on the ground, one of the bars of iron on the floor, and he caught it around his legs, pulling him back towards the main wing of the house. Wait, was that where I was? Iron resonance was the second time. There was a snarl, followed by a sudden scream of metal thud. She peeked out again. Arteris was on the ground. One of the bars of the iron floor caught him around the leg, pulling him back toward the main wing of the house. He was clawing at the ground, scabbling, trying to escape, but only succeeding in nearly ripping his fingers off. Arteris screamed with rage, mouth frothing in noises practically animal. Ferran idly followed. I'd be careful with that corpse. Pyromancy is a rare ability. You know, give yourself a few more months. I'm sure you'll manage a spark. Whew. Good Lord. Helena scuttled back to her room. Once they were gone, just a glimpse of the house in action had made her far more weary. She understood in theory that it was malleable. But seeing the reality, it turned every bit of wrought iron filigree ominous. It was not her limitations. The house was almost alive, and so was Arteris, or reanimated. She would have sworn he'd been executed before the Undying had appeared. She kept trying to piece together the bits of her missing memories, but it was difficult to know if she'd forgotten something that had never been informed in the first place. After all, a healer didn't merit much in the way of security clearance. Her only knowledge of the battle of the military strength was trying to staunch the sea blood that flowed. The sea of blood that flowed. Despite knowing how dangerous it was, she could not help but to try to unravel the mystery of what she'd forgotten. Her mind itched for context, and she was playing cat and mouse game with Ferran in the ignorance of her only defiance. But it didn't feel protective, like she felt like walking blind and her skin sheared off. Her mind circled relentlessly, treating every new piece of information as a potential clue, turning it one way and then another, trying to see if it fit into another gag. What? To see if it fit into any of the gaps. What could she have possibly known that she would need to be hidden like this? Stop thinking. She slotted her feet under the wardrobe and began doing sit-ups until her abdomen muscles burned. Lydia was used to doing this in the room, and she was obviously off duty. Helena needed to focus on Ferran, on finding some way to provoke him into schmilling her. He had to have some kind of weakness she could exploit. Cain Ferran, where is this chink in your perfect armor? As if on cue, the door opened and he walked in. He stared down at where her feet were tucked in under the wardrobe and the way she was laid out, panting from exertion. You found something to do with yourself, I see. She forced herself to roll over and stand, biting back a wince as she pushed herself up. He was early for their walk, and this aberration in their daily routine made her suspicious. Come here, he said, withdrawing a vial containing several small white tablets, watching her reaction to it. What are those? She asked. He unscrewed the top and tapped one out. He raised an eyebrow. I'll tell you if you swallow it like a good girl. Helena pressed her lips tightly together. Despite healers generally lacking formal medical training, Helena was immediately acquainted with medicine. Intimately acquainted with medicine. She knew very well the power and danger of someone as innocuous, as small as a white tablet. You know I'm not going to kill you, Ferran said, his eyes glittering with amusement. After all, if I were, you'd feel obligated to come running. Helena glowered at him. Poison was only one of the innumerable possibilities. Ferran didn't give her the opportunity to choose between compliance and resistance. His resonance settled in her bones and pried her mouth open. He lifted her chin with the finger and dropped the tablet into the back of her tongue, forcing her to swallow. It slid like a pebble down her esophagus. She expected him to release her immediately, but instead he pulled off his glove and took her face in his hands, fingertips pressing along her jaw. The hairs on the back of her neck stood on end, and she kicked him violently in the shin. His jaw twitched, and he didn't let her go. Her legs seemingly stopped moving. What the fuck? I hate you, she forced out between clenched teeth. He paid her no mind as her eyes went out of focus. She could tell that he was doing some kind of complex transmutation on her. Something was happening. She should have been panicking, trying to resist as Ferran's resonance sank into her biochemistry. Instead, she became completely calm. Sometimes, I'm with you, Bobby. I'm with you, Bobby. She could feel him altering her as if I were an instrument he was tuning, tempering, adjusting, manipulating until she felt empty. 1, 2, 3, 4 words to say that. He let go. She jerked away, expecting the feeling to come rushing back. Vivimancy of that type was practically useless because it required a constant resonance connection to maintain. Yet her emotions didn't come back. They were somewhere else, present but distant, removed. Present, distant. Ferran watched as she stood there, intellectualizing her confusion. It was though through a piece of glass was slotted between them. She was aware she hated him. Oh, thank you for the gifts. This was a piece of information that seemed of the utmost importance, and she could not feel it. Hatred was a construct rather than an emotion. How do you feel? His sharp eyes cataloging her every detail. Her skin prickled with awareness of his scrutiny, a shiver running down her spine, but she didn't feel the corresponding wash of fear, just awareness. Her hands had stopped spasming. I feel cold, she said, numb. What are those tablets? They were developed during the war. It's a sort of holding effect on a psychological transmutation that would otherwise be temporary. Helena blinked, wondering how that could work. It must have been developed by using chimitra in tandem with vivimancy, developed in stages, addressing each of the various hormones, and Ferran snapped his fingers in front of her face. The purpose of this is to acclimate you to the house, so I don't have to waste my time escorting you everywhere. Not so you can have something to reverse engineer. Out. Helena was unfazed. It was bizarre at how empty she felt, scarcely human, as if nothing meant anything and had consequences. Fuck. Oh, they won. The Canadians. The Canadians beat the Sabres. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Oh, well. As we're going to win anyway. All right, sorry. Helena was unfazed at the bizarre and how empty she felt. Secretly human, if not only thing, many of the consequences. The tab looked much good feeling and much more. She carved out the emptiness abyss instead of a human. Is this what it is like to be you? He gave a dry laugh. Like it? She considered. It was certainly easier to be near Ferran now that she didn't feel overwhelmed by how much she hated him and afraid of his his capacity to hurt her. She was now excruciatingly aware of how dangerous he was, but without the sickening physical reaction of that knowledge. So they're anti-chode pills. Anti-chode pills. You know what I mean? Offering anyone brain rots, trade Bryce, the zombie. What? That's funny. Literally gave her a chill pill. Literally gave her a chill pill. Take a value, my guy. That's what that was. That was funny. Oh, right. She considered it was certainly easier to be near Ferran now. They didn't feel overwhelmed in such capacity to hurt her. Reaction, it feels like I'm dead, she said. He made an odd sound. Well, the effect is temporary. It only lasts a few hours. Ah. Room for a pill? He gestured toward the door, then Helena remained where his eyes were narrowing. You're being different to me now. You're less mean. She furrowed with an eyebrow in confusion, a feeling she was still apparently capable, of experiencing. He stepped toward her and leaned in so close, the breath ran along the length of the neck. Why would I torture you when you won't react? He asked softly in her ear. He straight raising her eyebrow. See? Nothing. No elevated pulse, no heart pounding. I could bring in one of your little friends and peel their skin right off in front of you and you wouldn't react. Wow. Wow. That's like some super stuff, right? That's like some super duper stuff right there. That's like start drooling type shit. Damn. There's no fun in that. Helena nodded and her own ideas developing. This would be the perfect state to be in, finally schmill herself without any sense of self-preservation holding her back. Outside, he said once again, a look of irritation flashing across her face as somehow reading her intentions. Helena retrieved her cloak with a sigh. The light of the halls were off, only the dim illumination of the daylight tickling through the windows as if she were unafraid. She knew there were only shadows. She descended the stairs and went into the veranda, standing in the doorway for a moment, but the courtyard was of no interest to her. She turned to explore the house. She couldn't help but wonder at Ferran's choice to smug her. Wasn't it more inconvenience for her to be afraid? He had to have some kind of fail-safe, some trick of keeping an eye on her that she hadn't yet realized. She stopped in her tracks, and sudden thought of occurring to her in which she had never entered her mind when she had been consumed by the thoughts of shadows. She turned around and walked back towards the west ring. Ferran was on the veranda reading a book. He glanced at the open door, but she ignored him, ascending to the stairs, scanning every corner as she went toward her room. She rarely looked up. The ceilings were shadowy, the darkness always pressing down on her when she looked too long. She focused on her most immediate surroundings, the walls within reach, the next place she stepped, the space between the shadows. She didn't look up. There were 2 dead maids in her room, turning down the bed, the windows thrown open. They dropped the duvet and instantly snapped the windows shut, locking them as Helena entered. She ignored them, seizing hold of the armchair and dragging it over to the far corner of the room as the manacles bumped against the bones inside her wrist. She stood on the chair and finally resorted to the tilting it against the wall, clambering up the back so she could get a good look at the high corner nearest the door. Tucked into the shadows was an eye encased in glass. She swiveled, the pupil contracting as if it were still alive, and stared straight at her. This dude got nanny cam eyeballs all up in the room. This dude got nanny cam he got nanny cam eyeballs. Like, he got nanny cam eyes and shit. Just get out of here. Tucked in the shadows, an eye encased in the glass, it swiveled, the pupil contracting as if it were still alive. The iris is beautiful, deep blue. They're offering a lot of money for eyes, Grace said. The upholstery of the chair was slick. Helena slid back as if it funked on 4 legs as Ferran walked in. Took you long enough, he said. Are you always watching me? Always watching. Like a Bucky, I guess like a Bucky's bathroom, huh? Sorry, too soon? Anyway. Are you always watching me? She finally asked. Standing still at the corner, the eye was cleverly concealed that you could scarcely make it out. How many did he have in the house? It could be the only one if the speed at which the Necrothals found her anything would go by. He scoffed. Hardly. You're terribly boring. She should be horrified. She would be. But it would happen later. In the moment, all she felt was curiosity. She looked at him. She had the book of poisonous plants in hand, index finger marking his page. How does that work? I didn't know you could reanimate parts. It's actually easier than thralls, he said, coming to stand beside her. Reanimation is like electricity, just channeling the right kind of energy to where it needs to go and then keeping it there. It takes barely anything to maintain something small once it's encased in the proper preservations. That was less interesting than she'd hoped. She turned to watch the maids. They were finishing with the room. They were remarkably reanimated. A person might not notice they were dead. They were agile and precise in their task, and without any signs of decomposition, it was undeniable that the Pharaon had a horrific talent for necromancy. It had to take a tremendous amount of mental resources to maintain the independently monitor them to behave like that. There was a real reason necrothals were mostly used for repetitive labor and battle hordes. Complex tasks were beyond their limited mental capacity. How was that possible? She looked at Pharaon, scrutinizing him. You're not a homunculus, are you? A what? Homunculus, are you? She felt ridiculous asking that question. Artificial humans were considered a mythical as chimeras or philosopher's stones. One of the many ideas contributed to the keenness of their pre-scientific era, or the three homuncular were a particular enduring concept. The idea was that by placing a man's seed, what the heck, into a and the proper environment, a stable warmth, it would come to life on its own. After being fed distilled blood, it could grow into a human of limitless alchemical potential and utterly without flaws because it was unspoiled by the inferior environment on the contributions of the female wombs, the source of all humanity's flaws. What the fuck am I reading right now, my guys? Good God and baby Jesus. What is this? Holy fuck balls. God. Like, this is... Oh my God. Okay, here we go. Although Bennett did not spend years trying to grow one, he ended up with all the lot of cucurbits of the petrified sperm. What is happening in this chapter? She grimaced but eyed him again. There was undeniably something done to Pharaon. With more in the monstrous and distorted form, it made sense that he'd have unnatural abilities as the result of whatever transmutations he'd perform on himself, but Pharaon looked mostly human. Where did the power come from? She studied him. Supposedly there were crystals and precious stones with properties useful for resonance. In early myths of Warren Holdfast, Solus Blessings was described as a huge celestial stone, amulets featuring crystals that had been long popular as a result. Necklaces and brooches had been sold in Palladian shops and stands, and the visiting pilgrims who considered the city-state a particularly scared of the faith, often with the promise that they would strengthen or expand the alchemist resonance or repertoire, ensuring admission into the institute. Many students wore heirloom jewelry, and the official figures of the faith often wore items sets with sunstones. She studied Pharaon for any jewelry or signals of the amulets. The guild family usually wore a signet ring and the varieties of pins and brooches to intricate orders and exclusive clubs, but in stark contrast with his wife and father, Pharaon usually wore nothing, not even a wedding band. Not only piece visible was his slender dark metal ring on his right hand. His eyes narrowed as she studied. What kind of ring is that? She asked. He looked down. This He asked as if there were only the other ring could have been referring to and turning his hand. Just an old piece. He slipped it off and tossed it to her. She caught it reflectively, disappointed to discover that it wasn't as usually black metal at all, but a severely tarnished silver ring, as if he never took it off to care for it. But it was hand-forged rather than transmutationally crafted. She could have the hammer. She could see the hammer marks that had been beaten and scaled, almost geometrically patterned into it. A bizarre thing for an alchemist to wear. Ah, thank you, Belle. Meaning me from Austin Powers. Makes sense. Oh, hang on. Oh, they didn't score. Okay, sorry. Okay, alchemist to wear. She could feel him watching and wonder what she would do. Don't swallow it. That's what she said. Don't look up. He gave her a sidelong look. You're lucky the national exam never tested you for an ability to lie. You have a transparent face. He held out his hand for the ring, and Helena debated popping it into her mouth solely to provoke him. Irritation flickered in his eyes. Try it, and I'll bring it back up, and you'll get a sore throat. She dropped the ring into his palm and slid it back into his fingers. Why all of a sudden the interest in me, he asked. She shrugged. You don't make sense. He raised an eyebrow. Oh, that's all? And here I was hoping you were plotting to seduce me. She stared at him blankly. He gave her a mocking smile. Steal my heart with your wit and charm. Helena scoffed. Who knows? Perhaps I have a proclivity for... He paused, studying her, trying to find something. Helena walked away. Maybe tomorrow. This is the weirdest ass story. Y'all put me on some weird shit this time, y'all. On her own, it was nice, feeling like a functioning person again. Helena had forgotten how easy it was to exist when her mind and body couldn't betray her. She was determined not to waste the effects of the tablet and moved through the house quickly, puzzling over the schmug's composition as she went. Her parents had practiced medicine. Her mother is an apothecary and her father is a traditional surgeon trained in Kihim. Helena had grown up surrounded by herbs and tinctures and medical procedures. It wasn't formal training, but it was enough that she had been a quick study as a healer. Much of the taste of her religion superiors, Falcon Matthias. At once she tried to tell him that the principles of healing followed the same rules in any form of medicine, citing her parents' work. It was like a manual versus It was like manual versus alchemical metallurgy. The use of resonance did not alter the fundamental principles. It had been he'd been so incensed that he made Helena spend 2 days He made Helena spend 2 days in the chantry offering penance for daring to compare her corrupted resonance to that noble art. According to Matthias' stringent understanding of the faith, necromancy, in the addition to its violation of the dead, was also a violation of the natural cycle and the natural law of vivimancy, stemmed from the same corruption form of, say it with me, resonance. God bless America. Healing was permitted within the limits because it was categorized as spiritual intercession, something selflessly and divinely led. Y'all, that's why I never went to fucking college, y'all. I ain't gonna lie. Fucking Jesus Christ. Helena had never understood why, but the institute, which generally treated science and the faith of complementary to each other, strictly banned the study of vivimancy, even for healing. Most healers tended to appear in remote places in the Norvis Mountains and were only taught to work by intuition, their success or failure left to the will of the soul. No science about it. Helena leaned to hold her tongue and pretended that her unusual talent for healing was divine and not because she understood the system functions of the human body. The tablet Ferran had forced down her throat was a clear demonstration of the potential if healing were allowed to be scientific. It seemed to have some kind of vasoconstriction component. Fuck are we getting into here? There's 5 of us in here because these words are so fucking ridiculous. I just want y'all to know this. A glyocytic, perhaps synthesized from foxglove. She tried to remember if she noticed anything that might indicate mineral acids, or maybe. Awful, aren't they? I can't even remember this bitch's name anymore. It's so goddamn long. Aurora, whatever. Aurora's voice floated down the hallways from the foyer. They were inside at first, but it doesn't matter how much they doused. They just reeked. I told Cain I'd set them on fire if they stayed inside another day. He won't just get a new one. It was a man's voice. No. Aurora's tone was petulant. I've asked and asked, but they're central, so we must keep them. Everyone else has new thralls all the time, but Cain never wants to change them. Then he finally brings new ones in, and then those awful things. For the prisoners, I suppose. Of course! Aurora's voice turned sour. The whole house has been turned upside down because of her. Just look at the banisters. They make the foyer look like some giant bird cage, but Cain insists we keep them like this now. He bites my head off if I even leave the door open. And the thralls are never around when I need them. It's so embarrassing. I saw Lottie Durant the other day. Her husband gets new thralls as soon as the old ones start getting ugly. Lets her pick them out and everything. They do whatever she tells them, even awful things sometimes. It's so funny. One of the girls, One of the girls once scorched Lottie's new silk, and you should have seen what Lottie had all the rest of them do. Chills just thinking about it. I wanted to punish one of mine once, and Cain showed up saying they're his, and if I wanted to torture any, I'd have to make my own. Well, I would if I could. Helena followed Aurora's voice. Jesus Christ. And discovered that the foyer had been transformed since she'd last seen it. The rails had been reshaped into iron bars stretching all the way up to the ceiling, making it impossible to jump from the landings from the stairs. Ferran was clearly taking no risks. Down below, Aurora and her companion walked. What is that chick's name again? What is her name? Aurali. Fucking. And her companion walked to the next room, still a disgusting, unfair, unsympathetic Ferran as was her husband. The details of the Ouroboros on the foyer floor showed up better from the third floor, even with the bars. Helena stared down, studying the wings, the spines, the fangs, and the sleek body curving into the circles as it consumed itself. The next morning, Helena laid pinned to her mattress as if boulder had been dropped on her chest. Aurelie. The next morning, Helena lay pinned to her mattress as if a boulder had been dropped on her chest. A lash of despair, a grief of anger, all the feelings she's been able to experience the day before, had come back, redoubled, so heavy she could barely breathe. The period of respite made it all even more, the monetarily relief making the magnitude of its weight even more tangible. She could feel herself crumbling. Her spine and neck were overheated while the rest of her body was clammy and ice cold, the sheets of the nightcloth damp with a strong mineral scent. There'd definitely been mineral salts in the tablet. She'd rolled on her side and was violently sick on the floor. She slumped down, shivering, limbs laden. She'd wanted to strangle Ferran and then crawled into a hole and die. She was hot and cold. She's hot and she's cold. There's so many words. And thirsty and pathetically desperate for comfort. If even one Necrothal had walked in and stroked her hair, she probably would have wept. A wave of loneliness struck so sharp she gave a heaving sob of almost burst into tears. Anyway, the door opened, and one of the Necrothals did enter, but only to clean the mess. She lay back in the bed until evening, shivers, sweating until she passed out from exhaustion. When Ferran arrived the next day, Helena glared daggers at him. He could have warned her about the withdrawal. He waited for her to retrieve her cloak. But rather than lead the way, he stood and let her pass. The hallway was unlit. She could feel the shadows, the dark looming, but she kept the fingers tracing along the wainscoting in her focus on the next step. She knew her way, even in the dark. She could find it now. Just call her O'Reilly. For real, O'Reilly. Oh, O'Reilly. That's funny. When she reached the courtyard, Ferran approached on the veranda, observing her like a scientist with a test subject. She sighed and began the tedious walk around the courtyard. When she finished the first loop, he was already gone. Wow. All that to say he drugged her. Good googly moogly. Y'all, I'm telling you, I like the story, but this book is a test of will. This book is a test of will, y'all. Oh my Lord. Like, I feel like we're going through this battle with her, like she's testing her will to stand tough, and we're testing our will to get through all the damn words. Good googly moogly. What is happening? I'm tired of this, Grandpa. That's too damn bad. I want to know what happens in the story now, but fuck me running. Like it is so rough. Everybody left us, y'all. There's only 5 of y'all here. I appreciate y'all 5. It was rough. I'm sorry. I ran everybody away. All right, let's get your spins in. What you at? You get 30. Where are we at? Where are you at? 45. So you get 30, 35, 4 spins. 4 spins. 4 spins. Woo! Good googly moogly. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, another cherry. There's the wheels. It's spin time. Spin time. Spin time. Spin time. All right, what do we got? What do we got? Something. Honey pots.
Oh, she's a pain in my ass. We're gonna do 5 spins. 1 for everybody here. Well, 4 spins, and then I'm gonna hit this is buzzard for everybody. So y'all made it all the way through all the words. We just knocking it up for everybody. Oh, we get to go with a rune.
Rune Dannon.
All right, and one more spin after our main man, Rune. Another honey pot? Really? Wow.
She's a pain in my ass.
Oh,
What you doing over there, Lily? Looking at her? Ooh, here we go.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh, Lord.
I appreciate you, Belle. I appreciate you. Yeah, it was only 3 chapters. I tell you, I like what's happening. It's just, man, it's so much to not really move so far, but I'm enjoying it. I really am. So with that being said, I want to thank everybody, especially you 5 for sticking with me through tonight. You know, I know it's a lot to go through, especially when I'm kind of butchering the words, but there's some big ones in there. And I tell you what, I think we had like 15 resonances. I tell you what. All right. Anyway. What's up, Lily Boo? You want to come say hi, everybody? Hang on. Come here, baby. I got you. You want to come say hi? You want to say hi? You want to say hi? Hi, everybody. Say hi, Lily. Oh, we'll get up there. All right. There she is. No cat butt, though. And you just cat butted. No, you went right from a... She goes right from my straw, folks. Anyway, thanks again, folks, for stopping by. And then we will see everybody again Wednesday. That'll be our last day of school and reading time. It'll be a fun one. All right, folks. Until then, we will see you next time. We will see you down in the cord. Have a good one, y'all.